Welcome to the Burn Boot Camp podcast. I'm your host, Morgan Klein, co-founder and CEO, along with my husband and company visionary, Devin Klein.
And together, with our amazing team, we are going to help you push past your limits, not just physically in our gyms, but right here, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually on the Burn Boot Camp podcast.
Together, we will take on challenges and break through barriers to transform into the best possible version of ourselves. We are more than a gym. We are a community. Your community. Let's go, Burn Nation.
Burn Nation, what is up, everybody? We are back with another Burn Boot Camp podcast. Today's title is Back to the Basics, a beginner's guide to nutrition. And as always, I got my amazing co-host and my buddy, our VP of Marketing, yours truly, Trisha Pena. How you doing, Trisha?
What's up, guys? What's up, DK?
Let's go, man. I'm so excited today. This is going to be so good. So, hey, we have a new theme here at the Burn Boot Camp podcast, and the theme is a theme. Instead of kind of going across different articles and kind of talking about current events and things like that, I think that's pretty fun. But I think what's more fun is talking directly to you and helping you with the things that you care about the most. And this is feedback that we've gotten from Burn Nation. And so thank you for your feedback. Please continue to give it. We have a brand new YouTube channel, and you can subscribe to the YouTube channel. It's made for the podcast. And so if you were on the Burn Boot Camp YouTube channel looking for the podcast, we got a new one. So we're going to link it into the show notes, and I need you to go there right now and make sure that you are subscribing and hitting the notification bell on YouTube. We all know what that is, so that you never miss an episode. We're going to launch them there. And if you're an Apple podcaster or a Spotifyer, you can also listen there. We're at video for every episode on YouTube and Spotify, and obviously Apple right now is just audio. So with that being said, I have one more housekeeping thing today. Because we're talking about back to basics, the beginner's guide to nutrition, I wanted to plug an episode that is coming up right after this. It's going to be episode 500. We are on episode 499 today. And episode 500 is going to be a really big deal because we are going to we're going to put our stake in the ground, and we are going to mark a new wave for Burn Nutrition, okay? Because Burn Boot Camp and fitness, obviously, is our bread and butter in what we do. And Trisha can attest to this, too. I'm going to kick it to you next. We got some beast mode people out there. I mean, we are a training program, mesocycles, periodization, human movement patterns, fundamental 24 exercises. We keep track of PRs. We're all about progression all the time. And Trisha, what is the one thing that's going to fuel the progression the most once we start lifting, once we start conditioning, once we see those initial results? What's it going to be, Trish?
Protein in the food that you eat.
It's food. It's nutrition, guys. It's protein. It's carbs. It's fats. We're going to keep it very simple, but also we're going to educate you today, okay? And, Trisha and I practice what we preach. We are in the gym every day. We're constantly working on our nutrition. I am constantly studying nutrition and how to get better and how to apply it to my own body. And we're going to tell some stories today about our nutrition and how we really enjoy about nutrition, what the pitfalls are, where we've lost ourselves before, because it is a just roller coaster journey. But it's something when you work on it over and over and you're consistently dedicated to it, you can become the person who falls in love with food. And that's the main tagline of our Burn Nutrition, is like fall in love with food. Because if you can psychologically, like the way you think about food, if you could start to fall in love with it and it isn't a burden, but it's something that's a blessing, then the game can change and fitness and nutrition become one, and really psychology becomes one. And you'll see that progression here on the Burn Boot Camp podcast of training, eating, and thinking, that we're going to be the intersection of all of those three kind of most important subjects when it comes to health and to fitness, okay? So this is us in the new theme, speaking right to you. And like I said, that metabolic flexibility episode, that's going to be number 500 on an Ask Devin Anything episode. We had a question from Jody, and Jody asked us if it's possible to build muscle and burn fat simultaneously. That's an advanced question. We're going to talk about metabolic flexibility in the next episode. But today, before we get there, we're going to start small. 5 small wins. So Trisha, I'm going to kick it to you. And, you've been intricate in helping Burn Bootcamp come up with the 5 small wins because we want to keep nutrition simple. So speak to me a little bit, speak to the people at home today that are listening and watching, what it really means. Like, what's the Burn Bootcamp nutrition philosophy? What are these small wins? And maybe then we can talk about just momentum and how to get started. We're going to go through each one of the small wins, and you can set us up for a fruitful conversation.
Yeah, I think overall the Burn nutrition philosophy is really want to lean in with education, and we don't want to overcomplicate it for people. I mean, I am a working, busy mom, right? I don't want to get into necessarily the nitty gritty of the details, and that's not necessarily what we need to set up for success. What you need to know are the basics, and you need to. We talk about this a lot on the podcast, is setting up the foundational elements. And once you can understand and really dig into the foundational elements, then from there, it's when you can start to get a little bit more, how can I say, like scientific with how you're approaching your nutrition philosophy. But it's not until you truly understand the nutritional foundation, which is really what our nutrition philosophy is all about. And that's really what got me, if I'm going to be honest, like 9 years ago, committed or recommitted to my nutrition, because this philosophy simplifies it. It's not overcomplicated. So I don't know if that sets us up, or if you have anything to add to the nutrition philosophy, since it really comes from your brain.
Yeah, I think we noticed that early on. Back in the Huntersville Burn Bootcamp days in the parking lot, I came up with this thing called focus meetings. Because at most gyms, you can kind of go in, and it was at least like my experience that you would go in to the gym, you'd sit down with a trainer, you'd have a consult, and they'd basically say like, if you don't do what I'm saying to do, this generic plan, and you don't pay me for it, then you're going to die early. And it's like, okay, wow, that's heavy. And it really puts a lot of pressure on you to be able to execute nutrition, when nutrition is something that we got to fall in love with, right? And so there's 5 basic things that we came up with during these focus meetings back in the day. Before I knew much, when I was 16, I got into nutrition because I needed to play baseball at a high level, and the D1 recruits, recruiting coaches were saying, hey man, you got to gain some muscle if you want to actually be able to step up here and play Division I baseball. And I wanted to escape from the hellhole that was my childhood lifestyle. And so I would do anything, right? So yes, sir, I got you. I'm eating. I'm going to learn about it. I'm going to get my weight gainer shakes. I'm going to eat steak every night, whatever I can. I'm going to, go buy some Bubba burgers and get my protein up. That's honestly probably my number one source of protein back in the day, was like frozen hamburgers. And so I sat down at 24, 25 years old, only really being able to articulate nutrition when it came to myself, which became pretty advanced through the Central Michigan Chippewa program onto the San Francisco Giants. The strength and conditioning coaches with the Giants are top-notch in the world, and these guys really leaned in to nutrition and taught me about artificial ingredients and the caloric effects of food, but also the hormonal effects of food. And you ladies out there especially are going to like to hear us talk about that. Because you're like, I'm eating food and like, what's happening? Like, I'm not moving. Well, there's a rhyme to that reason, because your calories and the hormonal effect of those calories are deeply intertwined. We're not going to necessarily go there today. That will be more in that metabolic flexibility Ask Devin Anything episode, if you want to mark that on your calendar. Chelsea, when's that episode come out, by the way? The Ask Devin Anything, metabolic flexibility. Just ping that in my ear and I'll give them the air date for it. But there's 5 small wins. Okay, 5 small wins. Number 1, protein. Okay, we want you to, at the very baseline, maintain 100 grams of protein daily. There's some clips from Layne Norton, Gabrielle Lyon, Dr. Layne Norton, Dr. Gabrielle Lyon, that we are going to listen to, and Trisha and I are going to really agree and disagree and point out and just take that conversation deeper. Number 2 is to remove added sugar, or at least reduce added sugar to an acceptable level. We're going to talk to Dr. Mark Hyman, Dr. Darian Sutton on that one. Number 3, increase hydration. Okay, Dr. Stacy Sims, Dr. Zach Bush are going to join us with some clips to talk about increasing your hydration. Control caloric intake, video clips by Dr. Andrew Huberman, and then control alcohol intake by Huberman, then control caloric intake. So you have protein, sugar, hydration, alcohol, calories. Okay, these are the 5 topics. And as Trisha and I go through these 5 small wins. We're going to give you specifics on what those 5 small wins look like, and then we're going to tell you stories anecdotally and how we've applied this to our life. Trish, does that sound good? Do you have anything to add to that before we get them going on this little journey today?
No, but I think as you're listening to this and you've now heard the 5 small wins and you probably maybe have known them before, just think about questions that you have and don't hesitate to write them down, shoot them to us, because I know that this is important. And I also know, just as a consumer of media and information, it can be, again, overwhelming, and we hear all these things all the time about you shouldn't do, should do. So if you have just questions, please let us know. We will answer them straight, and we will try and simplify it, because as you guys know, it's all about the foundation, and it's kind of just, at the end of the day, just kind of boring, but it's the truth.
So I am a fitness-specific nutritionist through the American Council on Exercise. I'm working with NASM right now to get my CNC, the certified nutrition coach. And, so I need those credentials because I want to take you guys deeper. But I just want you to know that this has been like a lifelong study for me, like I mentioned, since I was 16 years old. And one thing that I know doesn't work is when you just listen to some random person on the internet, some talking person that has great things to say, but they might not have a great delivery, and they might expect you to do something that they're saying, or they might put you in a position to fear the consequences if you don't do what they're saying. And I think that's fundamentally misdirected. So I want you guys to know that when we're talking today, I can't give you dietary advice for you. We're going to outline, generally speaking, what almost everyone is going to agree to. And these are things that, like, hey, 1 + 1 does equal 2. So they're, if quality calories in and quality calories out, and the caloric and hormonal effects of food are real and universally biologically applied. But you're also, like, the quantities and all the other little nuances that people try to get you to do it their way. I just want you to know, I do it my way. I'm never going to tell you to do it my way. You shouldn't do it my way. You shouldn't listen to my way and do anything that I say, because that's for me. And that's what, that is what my body needs. And I've got, now 20 years of history of practicing nutrition, and I've got advanced strategies, right? And Trisha, like she said, dialed herself in like 9 years ago, and she's on a specific journey. Your body reacts differently to different things. We all have the same chemicals, but we all have a different ingredient list and quantities of those ingredients. And it just really depends on where you're at. So if you really want nutrition advice personally, I do not recommend that you listen to anybody on the internet. Maybe use it as an opportunity to provoke curiosity in you and to do research, because an educated member is a retained member. When I educate you and help you come to your own conclusions, I'm a mentor. When I tell you what to do, I'm not doing a service to you by bypassing the knowledge curve, the learning curve that you need in order to really be able to apply this stuff to your life. Does that make sense? So please don't listen to the advice of anybody out there that when they pretend like it's specific to you. And if you do want specific personalized help, I am glad to help you, and I will answer you. Trisha's glad to help you. You guys, our Instagram handle is, mine is devin.klein, and
Trish Pena on Instagram. Yeah.
Yeah. So just DM us, and we're so happy to help you. Trisha is also, you have a NASM, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So Trisha is also a NASM CPT as well as me. And that is the organization that we believe represents the most well-rounded approach that Burn Bootcamp takes. And, most of our trainers have an NASM. And so I know she's our VP of marketing, but we are a health and fitness company here to make you confident and happy. And she is leading the charge in that. So with that disclaimer being said, all right, now we can have a conversation in which you don't believe that I'm telling you to do anything specifically. I want you to consider, I want you to be curious. I want you to start the process of becoming educated with your nutrition. So Trish, we're going to talk about 100 grams of daily protein as a foundation. We're going to start off with 100 grams of protein. First, what I want to do is I want to roll that Layne Norton clip, because I think he does a good job of just giving us a range. I'm going to have to do some math conversion on this one for you, but can we roll this video, Jordan, please? And let's listen to Dr. Layne Norton and see what he says about protein intake.
Of the macronutrients, protein is definitely the biggest lever that you can pull. It doesn't take a ton of protein to get a lot of the muscle building benefits. I mean, I think the benefits really start to plateau out around 1.6 grams per kilogram of body weight. There's some evidence that maybe even up to like 2.4 or 2.8 grams per kilo may give like a little bit more benefit. I think it probably looks something like an asymptote in terms of a curve where as you put more into the system, you always get a little bit more, but it just gets to the point where it's so infinitesimally small benefit that it's, for all intents and purposes, no benefit.
Okay, so I really like this clip, and he uses kilos, which is not, it's metric, not imperial. So I'm going to do a conversion for us to imperial real quick, because here we, generally speaking, like to, I know I'm always lost if I hear the word kilo. I'm like, wait, what's that mean? I don't know what that means. So when we say 100 grams of daily protein, like I said, because of simplicity purposes, okay? If you're not getting 100 grams of protein in your diet every day, then you're not going to maximize your ability to build muscle, or muscle protein synthesis. MPS is what it's called. Now, dietary protein has amino acids. Amino acids are either complete or they're non-complete. And you really want to intake dietary protein that has a complete amino acid profile to get to your 100 grams, which is mostly animal products. I'm going to rattle off just a handful of things. It's eggs, it's fish, it's whey protein, it's beef, it's elk, it's venison, it's, help me out, what am I missing? Did I say eggs already? Chickens. What else? Anything you can think of? Beef, grass-fed beef, bison, turkey.
Salmon.
Any type of fish, even things like sugar-free, uncured, nitrate-free bacon gives you a good source of protein. So then you have the plant side of protein, which, you know, I enjoy both of them in my diet for different reasons, because plant proteins aren't going to have the magical lucky leucine protein in it, which is going to really spearhead the factory, which is muscle protein synthesis. It's like the factory manager, and it's really going to drive muscle protein synthesis with leucine. Now, plant products don't have a lot of leucine in them. There's select ones that can. Chelsea, pull up a list of the 5 top plant proteins and leucine content, but it does have something that animal products don't have, which is phytonutrients, phytochemicals. So that's the reason why Burn Bootcamp both has Afterburn Whey and then Afterburn Plant. What are the top 5, Chelsea? Go ahead and read off the top 5 plant protein sources that have the most leucine in them. And I want to just cut through the clutter here, because leucine and amino acids and non-complete, it's all, if you're listening to this for the first time, it's back to the basics, right? I'm getting too advanced even with that conversation for the scope of this podcast. So you have soybeans, lentils, pumpkin seeds, hemp seeds. If you're looking at the screen, you can just see the leucine content. But the leucine content is not going to be that of animal products. So this is the reason why we recommend, if you want to maximize muscle protein synthesis or building of muscle, that you want to have complete amino acid in their profiles, and you want to have some phytochemicals in there as well. All right, now, can I just say one thing, Trish, real quick?
Yeah.
Dietary protein, meaning the food that you're eating and putting into your body, doesn't just automatically convert to muscle. Okay, it's not like you magically eat 100 grams of protein and then you just convert muscle. The thing that sends a signal to your brain, to your muscle fibers, what are they called? Mechanosensors. That's that signal to your brain when you go through hypertrophy, or just in simple terms, strength training at Burn, is what happens is your body sends a signal to your brain like, hey, dude, we're going to keep doing this. Build stronger, adapt. Your body is incredible in its ability to adapt. And so don't think that you need to like dial your protein in perfectly right away in order to gain muscle. Okay. You're going to start gaining muscle just by the mechanical load going through exercise. All right. I'm gonna do this conversion for you guys real quick. Make one point, and Trish, I'm gonna come to you, and I'm gonna ask you how you you've worked the system and kind of where you started and where you're at now, and hopefully folks at home are gonna be able to follow you in their journey and give them confidence that you don't have to like dial this in kind of right off the bat. I think that's what I want to really dial home here. Is like, let's just get protein on our mind first. Let's get baseline 100 grams. And then let's go from there. Let's just show up to the gym and work hard. And what happens is you get little moments that you're proud of yourself, and those moments will turn into momentum, and you'll get some serious some serious gains going right away, okay? So here's my kind of conversion. So if you go back, if we do listen back to the video, which we're not going to right now, the conversion that he has is 0.73 grams per body pound, not kilo, to 1.27 grams per body pound. That's the conversion metric, okay? And so there's two things that are fundamentally wrong with this that I really want you guys to know. And Lane would sit here and agree with me too, right? We have a short clip. I'm not trying to argue with him. I think that's one of the smartest guys out there. But all I'm trying to say is just provide you guys with some clarity so that you can not take his clip out of context, okay? So what we're really trying to do is not get, I'll go right in the middle, right? I'm not trying to get 1 gram per body pound. That's not sound. That's not good advice. Here's the best advice, and it's a subtle switch. Are you ready for it? 1 gram per ideal body pound. And if that, oh my goodness, if that blew your mind, right? That's more sound advice, because somebody who is super obese and deconditioned at 380 pounds should not try to get 380 grams of protein in. You're going to be in a caloric surplus for the body and the energy that it needs. So what we need to do is say desired pound, okay? Desired pound. That way we're not promoting overeating, because at the end of the day, it is about QCICO. QCICO. Do you know what that stands for?
No.
Quality calories in, calories out.
There we go.
Okay, we're going to talk about this in a little bit, how kind of like not all, we're going to talk about this in the next segment when we talk about sugar, about how all food is not created equal. We're going to get into the hormonal benefits and how that crosses over to calories, and how you cannot have one conversation without the other. So hang tight for that. So when food goes and it stores in as glycogen in the muscle and the liver, so your food that you eat, your carbohydrates, that's sugar. And when you do take carbohydrates in, you're going to fill up your muscles with this little thing called glycogen, which is just an energy store for your muscles. It's going to tap off, if you will, your liver. The rest of that food that you eat is going to store as body fat. You guys need to know this. This is so important. Are you listening? Okay. Your body does not optimize for the way you want to look and perform. The body optimizes for sustainability, which means that the food that you eat, the carbohydrates that you eat, the proteins, the fats, the macronutrients, these 3 things, you'll use that food. You'll maximize that glycogen conversion into your muscle tissue and into your liver. Guess where it goes once all of those rooms, those individual cells, guess where it goes? That energy goes afterward. If there's too much, it goes to fat. And even if there's just the right amount, the body optimizes for sustainability. So actually the food that you eat that you don't use stores on your body. Your body fat is stored calories. That's incredible to know. It's incredible to know, because that means then we can use body fat for energy. Okay, this is going to be episode 500, just giving you a little precursor to metabolic flexibility. So back to the basics. Here's the basics. 1 gram of protein, dietary protein, per desired body pound. Okay, I just want you to keep protein on your mind. Whenever I'm out in the world, here's my plan. And it's the same plan that Trisha has, so I'm going to let her explain it. Trisha, take me down your journey, okay? Take me through your journey of the most simple version of Trish 9 years ago, how you thought about food, and maybe walk me through your progression of where you're at now and what you and I both know that I was going to say before I didn't want to steal your thunder. I want you to talk about how we think about going out into the world and seeking out protein.
Hunters of protein.
That's right.
No, 9 years ago, I overcomplicated everything. I was really getting into this idea, and before this, I hadn't really thought about them from a macronutrients perspective. And I really wanted to educate myself as I was doing more intentional training, right, at Burn Boot Camp that I had started 9 years ago. It was really important for me to get my nutrition in check. But it's such a broad topic, and I'm not embarrassed to say that I was confused. I think I was listening to a lot of people, and to Devin's point earlier, I was listening to the words that came out of their mouth, and then I was acting on them. I wasn't actually thinking about what they were saying. I was like, oh, this person told me I need to do this. I need to do that. This person told me I need to stop eating red meat. I got to stop eating red meat. Red meat is so bad for you. Well, no, it depends on who you are, right? It could be bad for you. So 9 years ago, I was just consuming information. I was in this kind of trial and learn phase, but I didn't really know it until I started to take away too many of the things that I liked, too many things that I enjoyed. Because I do love steak. I love red meat. But I was told by somebody, I don't even know who at this point, that red meat was bad. So I stopped eating it. And then I stopped eating XYZ. So now fast forward 9 years later, what I hope, if you're listening to this and you're just like me 9 years ago and you're starting your journey, that's okay. We're never too late to start. I'm always learning. I'm always evolving. I'm always still testing and learning. What do I like? What don't I like? But I hope that you can not reduce what you love. I think the most important part about all of this is not taking away everything that you like. It's really being intentional about what you're eating and also tracking what is in those foods. And for this specifically, we're talking about protein. I still will track my protein intake. Protein is the most important macronutrient, and I think we'll hit on this. It obviously, especially from a performance perspective, you need that to see the results because you have to fuel your body properly, especially if you're in the gym tearing down those muscles to build them back up. So I would say to you is take inventory of what you're eating right now, and then take note of how much protein is in those things that you like to eat. Does that add up to this 1 gram per ideal body pound where our target is? And then from there, if you're not hitting that, it's finding and testing out other things that you might enjoy to eat, right? And then also take into account calories that we're going to get to. But I just don't want people to fall into the same trap that I did by removing the things that they enjoy because they heard someone that told them that it was bad for you. Because chances are, if it's a protein source, a high quality protein source, it's not bad for you. You might not digest it well, and that's an individualized thing, right? Not everyone digests things the same way, and you have to test and learn that. That's why we were saying what works for me for what I eat in my diet might not work for you, and same with Devin. We eat different ways, but at the end of the day, the most important part is how much protein we're getting and that we're prioritizing protein every single day. It's not just, you have to be consistent with it and learn to enjoy it, learn to love it, learn to love the food that you're putting in your body. Don't make it torture.
Absolutely. So let's go to Dr. Gabrielle Lyon. Let's just hear her perspective. I think she has some pretty good tips here. Walks the borderline of like giving advice versus sharing optionality. But I thought it was a decent clip, and I just want to give you guys a well-rounded perspective. And I think this is pretty aligned with Burn Boot Camp.
3 tips for increasing protein intake. Number 1, do not overcomplicate it. Protein intake doesn't have to be complicated. Have a shake, boil some eggs, keep them in the fridge. Who knows? Add in some canned chicken. Just have things around the house that you know are easy and can increase your protein intake. Number 2, start with protein in your meal. So let's say you're eating a salad. You've got a choice of salad, vegetables, protein. Who knows? Maybe you're going to go out on a limb and have some rice. Start with the dietary protein on your plate first. Number 3, plan out what you're going to be eating for the week. So let's say you're going to be having dinner 5 nights a week. Cook in bulk, have it available. Protein intake is easy.
Yeah, I like the way that she's trying to keep it easy. It's not as easy as you sound because you can get into like canned chickens, and you can start to get into like canned tuna and like high mercury and heavy metals. That's advanced stuff. Generally speaking, listen, I really like her take on a lot of things. And this one is some pretty solid tips for you. It's not as easy as she's making it out to be practically. I work with real people every day on this stuff, and we try to be protein hunters. We try to seek the protein. I think that's where we would like really vibe and align. But it's not easy. I don't want you just getting canned tuna because it's convenient. I want you to fall in love with food. That's going to be a key kind of hashtag for me, is fall in love with your food. And when you build, what does that really mean? Like, it's like kind of cliche, like, oh, build a relationship with your food. What does that even mean, Devin? What it really means is respecting how it got to you, right? Respecting the sun and the soil and the rain and the agricultural process and the farmers who probably got up really early in the morning to pick the cashew tree, and then the manufacturers whose incredible machinery through this like weird thing called technology can like take the cashews and make them into a butter and then put it in a jar, and then I can call somebody at Shipt and they can put it on my doorstep. And how incredible is that whole process just to get that cashew butter, let's say, on my fork or on my spoon to enjoy a snack. And if you can slow yourself down, like Trisha was talking about, slow yourself down, be grateful for your food, then it's going to, and understand the pathology, the logistics of how the food got to you, then it might be more enticing to you to actually sit with it and cook with it and fall in love with the cooking process, and know that avocado oil has a high smoke point. And if you're going to saute some veggies, that's probably a pretty good one to saute some veggies in, or some like ghee butter or something like that. So just wanting to not make it seem like it's easier than it is. So what we want to do then is make the actual content of protein, the quantity, we want to make that at 100 grams, because that is relatively easy. Now, making high quality protein is relatively challenging, and this is why most people don't do it, because aren't we right that if it was easy just to go get protein, it was easy just to make it, like protein's easy. Like, not for me, not from my perspective. I've had to really work to like have protein readily available, and I love her conversation that she's having around planning, because that's the best tip she gave, like plan. You've all heard what's the 4 P's? Proper preparation prevents poor performance. Proper preparation prevents poor performance. You can't just wake up and say, oh, what am I going to do today? All right. So basically, anything else to add on protein?
I was just going to say, if you tend to snack a lot, I like how Dr. Gabby said she eats her protein first when she has her salad. I did the same thing, because protein's going to make you feel fuller longer too. So it's going to eliminate you from having snacks down the road. So it's another good perk about protein that I just wanted to hone in on in case you didn't know that. Always eat your protein first.
Okay, we're going to move on to added sugar. We ask to remove added sugar. I want you to get to a place where you can remove added sugar. Now, are you there today? 90% of the country is not there today, removing added sugar. Sugar is the prerequisite to inflammation, which is the prerequisite to all disease. So, generally speaking. So let's talk about sugar. So when you intake food, carbohydrates, what happens is you have this hormone that's secreted by your pancreas. It's called insulin. Everybody's heard of insulin. What happens when you are hungry, there's a hunger cycle of 3 hormones. 1, ghrelin. That's your I'm hungry brain hormone. That's ghrelin the gremlin. That's when ghrelin's talking, that's when you get hangry. That's when we get norepinephrine that rushes, okay, and from our adrenal glands. When norepinephrine rushes, it's that fight or flight hormone. We think if we don't eat, we're gonna die. Like we literally like eat a whole cow. I'm so starving right now. You've thought that way before, maybe, right? When you're so uncomfortable because you're so hungry, it's like all you can think about. But here's the reality. Then you go make a phone call. Trisha calls me up, and we talk for an hour, and I actually just bypassed that ghrelin hormone. Really, I was just bored. Really, I just didn't understand the cycle of hormones. When ghrelin peaks, I'm hungry. And then when the second one, leptin, is at the forefront, I'm full. But what happens if we constantly eat all the time? If we're constantly eating complex carbohydrates. I'm not talking about broccoli or sweet potatoes. I'm talking about cookies, cakes, and candies. If we're constantly eating the simple carbohydrates and which drive insulin spikes, that's where the hormone comes in. You've heard of the glycemic index before. We're going to pull that up and talk about that in a moment. But this is the hormonal difference in food. It's not CICO, calories in, calories out. Broccoli is not created the same as sweet potatoes, right? Even instant oatmeal isn't the same as steel-cut oatmeal. There is a hormonal effect of food that we haven't taken account of, and largely we are in this cycle of ghrelin the gremlin coming up top and signaling to our brain that we're hungry. Because we lack the discipline to bypass the hormone, we think that we're going to starve and die because norepinephrine is going to rush and tell you you're going to starve and die, but you're not getting chased by tigers, people. You're not going to die. You're going to be fine. You're on your couch at home. You're going to be good, I promise. If you have excess body fat on you, that body fat is stored calories. You eat calories, we already explained this, your body optimizes for sustainability. Even great food is going to be peeled off and stored for energy for later. And we actually never allow leptin to talk, which to tell me I'm full, and we just suppress leptin. Poor little leptin. Probably feels like a little loser in your body because all we do is like depress him. He never gets the chance, or she never gets the chance to say, buddy, you're full. Like, why are you eating? Right? And then CCK is the satiety hormone that sits in your gut. It kind of tells you, it kind of helps out with that as well. And so between these three hormones, the two main ones being ghrelin and leptin, that cycle, all right, we got to learn to live with being a little bit uncomfortable so that we can get, this is going to be next episode. It's going to be called lipolysis. It's a process in which your body uses fat for fuel, not sugars for fuel. Okay? Does it make sense? Glycolysis and lipolysis, the two ways that we metabolize food. Okay? That's probably more advanced than we're going to dive into today. Like I said, episode 500 will be on metabolic flexibility, and I go real deep into both of these topics. All right? And so back to the hormonal effects of food. So if we're constantly eating sugar, right, and we're constantly calling insulin out of the pancreas, and remember I said those cells are like, they have four walls, they can fill up, and once they're full, there's nothing else to store. Now we have insulin resistance. We have this constant, perpetual, chronic insulin problem where it's the insulin hormone just, all it does is tell your body to store energy, right? To store energy in your muscle, your liver, and then your fat. That's the three places in order. In your muscles is your glycogen. Glucose converts into glycogen. And insulin is the carrier and the storer of all things. When you don't have insulin, you suppress your insulin. Now what starts to happen is you begin, the long and short of it is you begin to more intimately be involved with that hunger hormone cycle, right? And if you can learn to bypass that hangry attitude, don't worry. You've got a lot of body fat that's going to through this process called lipolysis provide you energy. Okay, so generally speaking, I want you to focus. Here's a tangible, okay, because I want to make this very practical for us. Pull up the glycemic index chart. Not all food is created equal. Okay, this is a chart that I want you to get really familiar with. First, you need to know all food causes the pancreas to release insulin. It's just how much insulin and how often. So if you can look at the low GI, 55 or below, the medium GI, 56 to 69, or high GI, 70, then what you're going to understand is you now know how to control your hormones with your food selection. So here's where quality calories in, calories out is a the starting ground, not just simply calories in, calories out. Does that make sense, Trish?
Yes.
Okay, it's QCICO, not CICO. Now we're treating individual foods with the glycemic index and the relationship to that hormone called insulin. Now we are able to make healthy food choices. And I want to come back to me because I want to give you an example. I understand the need for my carbohydrates on strength training days, especially for me to really fuel this conversion of these carbohydrates, these simple sugars, this glucose, into glycogen. That's really important because you want to make sure that your muscle has enough energy to maximize that workout. You're working hard, so let's do everything that we can to maximize it. If you don't do what I'm saying and you're in the chronic perpetual insulin spiking cycle and you have insulin resistance, you're going to lift and you're still going to gain muscle because of the mechanical tension, but I'm saying that you're not going to optimize it and you're not going to maximize it. So pull up the glycemic index chart one more time before I go into my example. So stable blood sugar is going to be the goal here. And what I want you to realize is that the different charts there, that 55, 56 to 69, and then high GI 70 number, I want you to print this chart off. I want to put it in your house. And there's a bunch of them on Google, and you can chat GPT, better ones too. I'm just trying to give you an example. But what I want you to realize is that there is a scientifically significant, there's a scientific significance in which the scientific community will say, hey, this jump in low GI to middle to high is a significant jump, okay? And you need to know that. So what's statistically significant is 10 points usually. So you're going to have food choices, and if they're 4 or 5 points apart on the glycemic index, you're going to be just fine. Choose whatever you like better. But if you're going to say, here's my example, if you're going to treat instant oats the same way as you're going to treat steel cut oats, the same way that you're going to treat one of my favorite brands, Dave's Killer Bread 21 Seed, it's my jam. Pull up a picture of that. I want to show people my jam. What you're going to see is that the glycemic index for steel cut oats is low. It's 42. Steel cut oats are at 42. That's in that low range. That means it's going to have an insulin spike, but it's not going to be insulin taxing. Okay? Then you move to instant oats. Look at this. 83 at the high end for some brands. That's a high GI. Instant oats are not good for you. So don't go to the store. Don't go to Harris Teeter. We were here in North Carolina. So Teeter's our jam. Publix is more organized jam too. We don't buy instant oats because we are informed on the glycemic index, okay? There's much more to the conversation, but this is the beginner's guide to nutrition, and I want that glycemic index chart with you. Pull up Dave's 21 whole grains. This is my go-to, okay? Dave's Killer Bread is 53, which is low to moderate. And remember, I said statistically significant, all right, is about 10. So it's statistically significant to go from 53 to 42. So steel cut oats are going to be much better for you, but it's still in the low to moderate. And guys, I just like it way better. I love having one piece of toast that I put into the toaster and spreading out 100% almonds, Crazy Richard's almond butter on it. It's my jam. And I'd much rather do that than eat steel cut oats that are bland. I hate them. I cannot stand the texture of steel cut oats. Even though it's the best thing statistically for me, I also need to consider myself. And this is why you should only listen to yourself. You should only consider advice, be curious, and then ultimately decide what's best for you. Okay? So you'll see me with some Dave's Killer Bread at a 53, just being metabolically happy and flexible because the goal is stable blood sugar. Okay, so let's talk about the difference really quickly, and then I'm going to come to you, Trish, of simple carbohydrates versus complex carbohydrates. Okay, you'll know what a simple because I used to get confused on this. I was like, wait, simple is good or bad? Wait, simple sounds good, but actually bad. Complex means like it's better than simple. It's the digestion rate, okay? How long does it take you to digest is a factor, and the GI is a factor. So a simple carbohydrate is going to have a high GI. You see that 70 plus, that 70 or over number? If you can look up the food choices on the glycemic index, now you're going to be making, first and foremost, the number one priority is quality calories in, calories out. If you are not in a deficit, you will not lose weight. You will not lose body fat. You will not become more metabolically healthy. You just won't, okay? But most people stop there, and they don't say, and then the hormonal effects of the food are going to help optimize and maximize your health. So a simple carbohydrate's bad. Simple's bad means it burns really quick. It's very simple to break down. A complex carbohydrate tends to have more fiber, and it's going to be 55 or below on the glycemic index chart. So that, my friends, is the basic reason why I ask to work over time to reduce added or eliminate added sugar. I'm not suggesting all sugar is created equal, as you now know, because of this glycemic index. There's different forms of sugar. There's table sugar. There's dextrose sugar. There's fructose sugar. There's sucrose sugar. There's sucralose. There's fake sugars. There's aspartame K, aspartame potassium, all these different artificial sugars that people and scientists change like one carbon molecule so they can put it on the back of the ingredient label to trick you so you don't know what the hell's going on. So cut through all the clutter with the glycemic index. Eat foods that are in low to moderate and stay away from foods that are in high GI. And I promise you, if you just listen and go study the glycemic index and use ChatGPT or Google, you're really going to find a set of foods. I can't tell you what they're going to be, but you're going to find a set of foods, if you're looking hard enough, that are going to be low GI. And then we're going to work with you at Burn to dial in your total daily energy expenditure so that you can have about a 250 calorie deficit, which will help you lose maybe a quarter pound of unwanted body fat every single week, because it takes about 3,500 calories to lose a pound of body fat. So that's some rough math for you guys, and just an overall snapshot on sugar. Trisha.
Yeah, no, I think take a look at that list, the glycemic index. And if I were you and I was just starting out, I would circle the things that I really like, and then I would meal prep. And then I would go to my meal prep and I would make sure I'm prioritizing, I'm writing down how much protein in my meal prep, because planning, in order to be successful, you have to plan. Because I don't know about you, Devin, but there are weeks when I don't meal prep and I am off my game. My protein is not on point. I'm always a protein hunter, but is it the best protein that I know I actually crave and I want? No. So plan. And then also, one of the tricks that I've recently gotten into, and it's a point that Devin made, was fall in love with cooking, where I love our nutrition products. It's a plug for our nutrition products. I now am experimenting in the kitchen, because sometimes I have a sweet tooth. My kids have sweet tooths. They're all really young. So I'm now recreating things that are no added sugar, because it's, natural sources and it's still delicious. My kids actually now ask for these high protein, low sugar options that I've recreated in our kitchen over the store-bought processed options. And it's not, they know, because I teach them along the way, and I also do as well. So I think it's, not being afraid to experiment in the kitchen, ask all the questions, and really dig into the ingredients that you're putting in your body.
Because of time and basics today, I'm not going to go in depth into what I'm currently doing like right now. I lay my whole plan out and what I've done, and I do some pretty wild stuff, and I don't recommend that anybody does it, but I do want you to know what my plan is and why I did make a big change recently. But I know this stuff so well, you guys, because I'm a victim to all this. I didn't do what I was telling myself I was going to do. Ended up being 220 pounds, wearing bigger shirts than I should have to hide my 19% body fat. And I went and I made a decision one day that this is not who I am. This is not who I want to be. This is not how I want to show up for you as Burn Nation, and most importantly, my wife and kids. And I wasn't the best version of myself that I could possibly be. I'll go into the story in more detail, but I happened to lose 30 pounds, go from 19% body fat. I'm now to 180 today. And I went from 19% body fat to 6.5% body fat, doing exactly what we're talking about right now in a little advanced kind of more strategic way that's aligned with my fitness. So I'm a fitness specific nutritionist. So I understand the intersection between training, eating, and then how you think about both of those things. And I just want you to know, like this, you're not alone if you're feeling distraught or stressed out about this is a journey that you're going to go on for your nutrition. It's cliche to say journey, but it really is that, and it really is trial and error, and it really does start with just understanding quality calories in, quality calories out, the hormonal effects of your food, and the glycemic index of those foods is the most simple way. So at the end of the day, if you want to get to where you're going, you just need to control the calories, all right, which we'll talk about here at the end, and then you need to control the insulin secretion from the pancreas, and you're going to do that most easily following the glycemic index, because here's what I know. This country is the most obese, overweight, deconditioned country in the world, and here's been our nutrition philosophy for how long, Trisha? 100 years. Never skip a meal. Keep the fire burning. Have 3 snacks a day and 3 meals a day. Guys, that singular notion right there, that societal conditioning, kind of that universal mindset. How many of you actually at some point in your life was like, that's a good idea? And you did that for so long because you had the CNC or the what's it called? The CDC telling you what to do. You had big marketing companies that are jamming this stuff down your throat.
The food pyramid.
Yeah, the food pyramid, right? Like that's such an obvious example of like, that's the exact opposite way to eat. The food pyramid is exactly the antithesis of what the anti of what I'm talking about right now. So yeah, so we need to stop the never skip a meal. Okay, this advice, this direction, in my opinion, is the fundamental reason why our country is metabolically sick, and fundamentally the reason why we lean on medicine rather than nutrition to fix our problems, because we just follow the advice that we're given, and then you're like, I don't have a problem because I'm just following the advice. How could my government, how could my TV lie to me? Well, I'm telling you right now, your TV's been lying to you, and we have an issue with chronic insulin resistance, fat storage on fat storage on fat storage, increasing inflammation, and this is the root cause to all disease, all cancer, and nutrition, my friends, is the way out, okay? Nutrition is the way out, as well as medicine. I love the advancements we've made in medicine, but it has to start with God's cocktail. Like, you have everything inside of you already that you need in abundance if you just learn how to nourish it with the foods around you. Okay? Does that make sense to everybody? Anything to add to that, Trisha, before we move on to number 3, small win?
Let's go to number 3.
Okay, we're going to go to number 3. You know what? We're going to watch a video first. Actually, let's not watch a video first. We're going to watch a video here in a second about Dr. Sims talking about how to optimize hydration and what factors need to be looked at to avoid dehydration. All right, so this is going to be a good one. You know what? Let's roll that now.
We're talking about being hydrated. Is this what we're thinking about? These kind of 3 main components, or are we talking about the water in circulation or in cells? Like, what is the most important sort of aspect of hydration?
When we're looking at hydration and the measurements that we have, like osmolality, urine-specific gravity, that's all more of a measure of the plasma volume, how much water you have in the blood. Because when the plasma volume starts to shrink through sweating or through illness, sickness, that kind of stuff, water from the other parts of those compartments start to come into the plasma space, because we need to keep the cells and everything that's in the blood more viscous in order to actually be able to circulate blood. So that's why when we talk about hydration and losing X% of body water or total body mass during exercise can have some kind of performance decrement. And that all has to do with how much water is available for thermoregulation. When we look at it from an illness point of view, if you have been vomiting or you had diarrhea, then it's not quite the same, I guess, aspect of dehydration, because you're losing water from other spaces because it's not just pure sweat. But again, if you were to measure it, it would still come from what is going on in the plasma. So it's a nuance that people don't really kind of get. So they're like, oh, we can use an oral rehydration solution, both in illness and in sweat.
Okay, so obviously that's very scientific. She is a scientist. That's the way that she communicates. And this episode is called Back to the Basics, Nutrition. There's some things in there that I don't thoroughly understand, but I did want to give those of you who are listening to this an opportunity to learn some new words. Maybe you can go on your own and be curious. Like I promote that you're curious. Dr. Stacy Sims is a very smart woman. And I'm going to do my best to take some of the scientific language and kind of convert that. But I don't also understand everything she's saying, and I don't want to pretend like I do either. Like the plasma volume in your blood and that type of thing. She's an exercise physiologist and really studies this for a living. And so, we do pull her up quite a bit here on the podcast. And there's a lot of things that she talks about that I think are really good. And then I me, I'm not one that will promote somebody giving blind advice saying you have to do this if you want to do that. Like that's not something I would promote. So I just want to make sure that we do have that neutral conversation of I even if I do disagree with some of the things that any scientist or doctor or PhD has to say, I'm the practical side of that. I see how all that gets actually translated into the world because I just work with so many people at such a high volume. I would have to be silly to, or like not paying attention to hear all these amazing people talk about the thermo effects of food and blood plasma and how that interacts with hydration and, how your water and your sweat, all that. But then like also look at a member staring blankly at somebody like, what the hell are you talking about? Like in English, please. Okay. And so water, we keep it simple here at Burn Boot Camp. We're not going to go into the science of water. Okay. That was for my advanced people. What we are going to do is say, if you got it, we call it 100 G's and 100 Z's. Trisha, explain to us what 100 G's, we've already talked about that one, and 100 Z's mean.
100 G's is your 100 grams of protein, and 100 Z's is 100 ounces of water.
And why is that so important, just to keep that simple and not have to think about the plasma effects of water in the bloodstream?
Because you just want to stay hydrated, especially if you're working out consistently, you want to replenish, right? So that's really, at the end of the day, it's just staying hydrated, keeping your body at a level of getting its foundational elements. I mean, it's as simple as that, Devin.
Yeah, it is as simple as that. And so when you're talking about your water intake on a daily basis, talk to me about how you think about being prepared and executing the hydration, because here's what I do know, and here is a stat. And by the way, my criteria for pulling up stats is that this is a third-party, peer-revised, in a medical journal, human randomized control trial. And in third party isn't an endorsed, or it's an independent third party, not a company that's paying to be the third party. And that's very, very important when you're out here crawling these different medical journals like JAMA and everything else like that. So go ahead.
Well, I think my tip, I don't have it here, but I normally always have my water bottle on this desk. And there's a reason why, is because I know how much that water holds and I know how many times I have to fill it up. So then I know in my head that I need to do this 3 times in order to hit my water limit. So I love that Stanley and all these different brands have like popularized, carrying a water bottle around with you. It's like our security blanket. Now my kids also carry a water bottle with them everywhere they go. And we talk about the importance of drinking your water and staying hydrated. So that's my trick, is find a water bottle that you love, find a color, whatever, get a couple, match it with your outfit, whatever you want to do, put stickers on it. I don't care, but find something that works for you that you can take with you. My tip is make sure you have one that doesn't spill, because I've gone through a couple of trial and errors with that. There's brands out there that don't spill, but that's it. Just find a water bottle you love and keep it, know how many times you need to fill it up, 2, 3, 4 times, and then you're good to go.
So 30% if you're dehydrated. You can speed up your metabolism by 30% if you're a dehydrated person, just by getting enough water in. And I found a couple different like stats out there, and I hadn't gone so deep into say like why this amount of water versus this amount of hydration. 100 ounces a day seems to be a good starting point. And then most everything else I can find is like half your desired body weight in water, desired body weight in water, or up to 1 ounce per desired body pound, right? So half so 0.5 to 1 per desired body pound. You just do that simple calculation, and that will spit out an amount of ounces that you could drink that would be more in tune physiologically. But even that is too simple or too complex for our scope today. I'm really wanting to speak to like the beginners. 100 Z's, okay? 100 Z's, just start there. Most people aren't getting that on a daily basis, okay? Because let me break this down for you just from a practical standpoint so that you can understand how important water is. Water is the vast majority of the makeup of our body. So if you're tired, you're probably dehydrated. If you're hungry, you're probably dehydrated. If you're bloated, you probably are dehydrated to some point. Like if you want energy, okay, intracellular, meaning inside of the cell, what we want to do is we want to hold water, intracellular hydration. Hydrophilic is glucose. Glucose is hydrophilic, which means it bonds to water. So the carbohydrates that you eat that break down into glucose that get shipped into the muscle cells as glycogen. Glycogen likes the water. Glucose likes the water. Okay, so what we're going to do when we expend that muscle or that glycogen, we're going to lose water. We're going to lose water, so we got to replenish it. Plug. And we got to replenish it, okay? So you can see my routine. Chelsea, grab me one more water. I'm on 3 Defiance Fuels already during this podcast. Your boy's thirsty today. I did my hour of power this morning, which is 20 minutes of hardcore activity, 20 minutes of sauna, 1 minute cold plunge, and then spend the rest of my time in the day meal prepping, talking about planning. I make my food pretty much every day, nice and fresh. And this is recent, like I said. I've been lost for a long time with my nutrition. Come on out, Chelsea, you can bring it out. All right, so I'm going to see this heaping scoop of Replenish. I'm going to do one of those in the morning, and I'm going to do one of those in the evening. And then in between, I'm going to knock out as much as I can. So I got 40 ounces of water just in these two. Well, I got 60 ounces on my table here. So I'm almost there, and it's not even mid-morning yet. So by the end of my day, I'll probably drink at least my body weight in water. And too much water, I mean, there's such thing as like water toxicity, but like, I mean, you literally have to like put a straw in a pool and just drink the whole pool. Pretty much, I think there's a handful of cases in history where people have actually died from too much water and during like water chugging challenges, and they basically drown their liver. So you're not going to do that. Please don't join any water challenging contests. But what I do want you to do is drink water even when you're not thirsty. Okay? Water fuels your cells, like I said. The energy center for your cell, it's like a power plant, they call it in the scientific world, of your cells is the mitochondria. And when we have water in our body, that mitochondria can sometimes be damaged. Sometimes those proteins can fold. And you really require the hydration to actually function in the first place. And your body's definitely not breaking down or metabolizing food well if you're not hydrated. This is where that 30% number comes in. If you're chronically dehydrated and you just start adding my prescription for water, my baseline prescription for water, dehydration slows everything down. So your metabolism isn't going to be as fast. You're going to have poop that won't come out, called constipation. You're going to have bloating. You're going to have digestion issues. That's not a food issue, guys. It's not a food issue. It's a water issue. So if you have like any, it could be a food issue. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying, generally speaking, it's usually a water issue. Start smashing some waters every hour. On the hour you got 20 ounces, then you're going to start using the bathroom much more. People don't drink water because they say, I pee a lot. Good. It's your body practicing health. I want you to pee like every hour, right? Use that opportunity to go pee and then take a walk and walk around for a little bit. And I think that routine, like leaning into it rather than saying, oh, I got to pee every 2 seconds. Like, great, I'm busy. I understand that. But do you know who you're talking to? I'm like one of the most busy people on the planet. I'm just crushing water all day long. So chill out with all those excuses, people. All right, stop resisting it and get into some water. Okay, so while we're on plugs, speaking of Replenish, do you guys like my? Let me get my computer out of the way. Do you guys like my new Burn Bootcamp USA gear, baby? Let's go. Check it out.
It looks so good.
Turn around. You got my bee?
Yep.
You see my bee?
We see the bee.
All right. Oh, matching hat to go with it. Trisha, what you got rocking over there? Plug.
I got this nice sweatshirt. It's so soft. I like want to sleep in it, want to stay in it all day long.
Move the mic so I can see your logo.
Oh, sorry.
I want to see the logo.
It's a nice neutral color. Goes with anything.
And these are on the shop. These are on our e-com shop right now. And remember, when you do support your e-com store, it's also supporting your gym. You could pick it up in the gym or you could get it online. Make sense? Say yes?
Yes.
All right, let's keep going. It's going to kill those cravings. It's going to get you to your overall health right where you need to be. And guys, gals, this is not an optional thing, okay? You have to. This is one of those non-negotiables. Trish, a couple weeks ago, I asked people on my Instagram, I said, hey, what are the non-negotiable? What one non-negotiable do you have? And then I told everybody about my hour of power. That's my one non-negotiable. Even camp's not a non-negotiable for me. I try to every week get Monday through Friday and on Saturday mornings. But even today, we're recording, and we have a big day of recording here, and I got to push to 5:30. I'm still going to go to camp. But sometimes that routine gets away. Sometimes you get sick and you don't go. Yeah, sometimes you just not feel like you're super sore. You shouldn't push through the pain, you know? I'm a pickleballer now, so like sometimes my lower back gets sore. I just got to push through a little bit. But it's not optional for water, okay? Yeah. This is fundamental to your health. And so let's stop with the excuses around water because it's inevitable. We're going to have to get over them anyway. The best thing you can do is make it a non-negotiable if you're chronically dehydrated and lean in. Trisha, anything else you want to say on that?
No, I like the tip that you had about kind of structuring your day around water. I had started probably about now a year ago. Every single morning, the first thing I do is I have a shaker cup. I am obsessed with our Fruit Replenish. I do a full shaker cup, so about 20 ounces. A scoop of Replenish, and I chug the whole thing before I drink any coffee or anything else. And that's 20 ounces of water down, plus I'm replenishing with minerals from Replenish. And so I think as you think about how can I get more water, just think about those little tips. Buy yourself a Stanley. It's 40 ounces. If you get the 20 ounces in the morning and then you fill up your Stanley twice, that's 100 ounces. Super easy. Don't overcomplicate it.
I love that. And so I want to take 1 second. How are we doing on time here? We're doing good. All right. I want to take 1 second to explain Defiance Fuel. So you guys constantly see these Defiance Fuel waters in the gym. And what this is, it's a 7.4 pH. All right. What I want you to do is run from anything that's over 7.4 because there's the pH scale. On one side is alkalinity. On the other side is acidity. And if you're too acid, you die. And if you're too alkaline, you die. Okay. So there's no virtue in having a 9+ pH. That's just marketing, people. Okay. The reason that I partnered with Defiance Fuel, and I am just full disclosure, I'm a part owner in the company. That's because I believe in it so much, and that's why Burn Boot Camp has Defiance Fuel in all of their gyms. This water was created for professional athletes, and at Burn Boot Camp, we are athletes. We train, guys. I was one. Y'all train harder than professional athletes. Most professional athletes just ride on their talent, and they're not training that hard. The greats obviously do, but collectively, we are athletes. This is structured water. And the design of it, I could go into a whole 2 hours on structured water and Defiance Fuel because I researched it and I've been to the facilities and I've seen what they do and how they treat it. Structured water basically is to mirror the body's natural water. So like we want to promote efficient hydration with this, okay? If you have water that has like an overload of microplastics in it, now that's still a downside to this. Like I'm still trying to figure out how to get out of microplastic world because every peer-revised third-party human randomized control study that I read says microplastics are everywhere. If you breathe, if you drink, it's in the air, it's everywhere. So that's the one downside to the Defiance Fuel deal is I don't think anybody's figured out how to eliminate microplastics from our diet, but that's a thing, by the way, and it's getting more serious in terms of the study and efficacy behind it. So the optimal pH balance to mirror your body's water is 7.4. Okay, so that's really important. So you're going to maximize nutrient absorption, and you're going to maximize hydration. It has electrolyte and a mineral blend, and it's also ultra purified. There's a very meticulous purification process. It involves shocking the water. It's like with electricity. And Defiance Fuel is the premier brand that fuels the horses that race in the Kentucky Derby. They sell horse fuel, it's called. So and those horses are optimized. If you want to be fit, be more like a Kentucky Derby winning horse, because they are optimized and maximized. And this is BPA-free packaging. So I just wanted to say why we have Defiance Fuel and give you a couple pitfalls to look for. If you see some premium water that's like 10 pH and it costs $1 more, you're actually not buying any benefit at all. You want to mirror the body's natural state of water. Okay, I think that's enough for water. What do you think?
I think that's great.
That's really good for water. Okay, let's see. Do we have any clips on water? Let's roll a clip on water. Who is this guy, Chelsea?
This is Dr. Zach Bush.
This is Bush. Okay, Come on, buddy. Let's go, Bush. Dr. Bush. Sorry, I'm trying to be respectful, just playful. Dr. Bush, here we go.
Body is 70% water, and not a single ounce of that is in this form. If I drink this water, it's going to feel good. It's going to feel like I'm hydrating myself for a few minutes, but I'm going to pee this out in the next 45 minutes because this pure water has no reservoir in my body. The vast majority of the water within my body is actually in a crystalline structure. For this to turn into a crystal, it takes a complex relationship to a vast array of salts, mineral amino acid complexes, and protein structures. My body is
Yeah, so that is why Defiance Fuel has the electrolyte structure in it. I just learned a new word, crystalline. I just learned a new word. I'm going to write that down, and I'm going to learn all about that tonight. Okay, we have to go to number 4 today on the small wins, everybody. Number 4 is alcohol. Okay, number 4 is alcohol. Let's roll that Dr. Andrew Huberman clip, and then I'm going to tell you guys a story about me.
Asked question about alcohol consumption and the brain. And the question that so often comes up is whether or not low to moderate amounts of alcohol, so maybe 1 drink a day or 1 or 2 drinks a day kind of thing, whether or not that is bad for your brain, in particular, whether or not it causes degeneration of neurons or nerve cells. Now, the reason that question comes up so often is because for many years, it's been known that high levels of alcohol consumption, so 12 to 24 drinks per week or more, is certainly causing neurodegeneration, in particular of the so-called neocortex, the outer layers of the brain that house associative memories, that house our ability to think and plan, that house our ability to regulate our more primitive drives according to context, et cetera. So to make very clear, drinking a lot, so having 3 or 4 drinks per night every night of the week is clearly bad for the brain. A recent study, however, finally addressed the question of whether or not low to moderate amounts of alcohol consumption can cause brain degeneration. The title of the study is Associations Between Alcohol Consumption and Gray and White Matter Volumes in the UK Biobank, the United Kingdom Biobank. First of all, gray matter are the neurons, it's the so-called cell bodies that house the genome of the cells, et cetera, and white matter is the connections, the fibers, the so-called axons of neurons. And it's called white matter because that tissue is surrounded by a fatty tissue called myelin, which allows nerve cells to communicate with each other very quickly. So what this study did is it looked at the brains, both the gray matter and the white matter, of more than 30,000, indeed more than 35,000 generally healthy middle-aged and older adults in the United Kingdom who were drinking various amounts of alcohol. What they found was that even for people that were drinking low to moderate amounts of alcohol, so 1 or 2 drinks per day, there was evidence of thinning of the neocortex, so loss of neurons in the neocortex, and other brain regions.
So alcohol for me is a very sensitive and subject, and one that goes deeper than just nutrition. So let me just get the nutrition piece out of the way. 2 to 4 drinks per week, not 2 to 4 margarita fish bowls, right? Like 2 to 4 normal size, like, whatever ounce drinks, like just a normal glass of a 12-ounce beer, a normal glass of wine, not a heaping glass of wine where you get the biggest wine glass you can and then call it 2. Not the bottle. The bottle can't fit in 2. But generally speaking, you guys, I understand 2 things. Number 1, and you have to know this too, this is the truth, that alcohol is legitimate poison. You're poisoning your body when you drink alcohol. Now, the upside of alcohol is it's damn fun. And you have a lot of social engagements around alcohol, and it's something that is a big part of a lot of people's lives. I am not here to demonize alcohol. I am not here to poo-poo on anybody that likes to drink. But I will say, if you value your health, right, then you need to limit the poison. That would seem pretty logical. So here's our recommendation at Burn Bootcamp. If you are really wanting to turn your life around and you felt enough pain in your life of not being healthy and you want to continue to drink alcohol, but you also want to maximize or at least nearly maximize your health, it is okay to have 2 to 4 drinks a week, but I would highly recommend that you have those in one day, like in one sitting. If you have if you have one glass every single night, like if you're the person that comes home, cracks a couple beers because you had a stressful day, or you have a half a bottle of wine or even one glass of wine, all of these effects that Huberman and that we're going to hear about next from Dr. Mike Israetel, you are going to be affected with your sleep, with your recovery, with your metabolism, with your mindset. Dr. Huberman is a neuroscientist, and he just articulated very, very well that the thinning of the neurons in the neocortex is just one drink a night. And so it is not healthy to have a drink 3, 4, 5, 6 times a week, even if it's just one. And it's relatively healthy to have 2 to 4 on one day. And if you really want to maximize that, then maybe don't eat food along with it, because what happens is alcohol just consumes the liver, and that liver doesn't like the alcohol. So the first thing it's going to do is burn that alcohol and use all the resources it can to burn. And you might this might be a part of like the college freshman 15 for guys and gals, when they binge on alcohol and then go late night and eat some pita pit, right? And your body's consumed with alcohol. Your liver is taxed already. It's working overdrive. There's not enough resources to metabolize your food. And, I think there's probably a deeper kind of science level to get here, but generally speaking, like, you're going to store the majority of those calories as body fat because you don't have any energy, metabolic energy or bandwidth to break it down. So here's my story. Okay. That's nutrition. That's the nutrition piece. That's my recommendation for you. I'm going to quickly tell my story, and then I want Trish to relay her relationship with alcohol. And this is kind of a hard one to admit for me, so I just want you guys to hang in there with me a little bit. So my family has had a history of alcohol abuse, violence, substance abuse, breaking and entering, stalking, DUIs, my dad in and out of prison, jail, my mom an alcoholic, drug addict, both of them. My dad ultimately died at 59 from use of hard drugs. And, I used to be somebody that really controlled my alcohol intake. When I was in college, obviously, did what all college kids pretty much do. But then when we first started Burn, I was really into my health and really into my fitness. And slowly over time, I started to drink more and more and more and more. And what I now realize is that what I was really doing with that alcohol is anytime I would feel anything from that chaotic past, especially when I was 12 years old, my father was charged with child abuse when he knocked me out cold at 12. And that memory is so burned into my brain that any time that I would go, like, that feeling would come up, it scared me. And I would push it right back down with alcohol or any other types of partying. Marijuana usage a lot of times. And, here I am, supposed to be this like really successful person that everybody looks up to and admires. And here I am drinking 3 or 4 times a week to kill my feelings so that I can't feel. It's social. I don't wake up the next day and regret anything I do. People look at me like I'm highly functioning. I'm still at 60% of my potential. But everybody looks at me like, oh, DK, he's the man. Look, he's got the entrepreneurial dream. He's got the business and a beautiful family and the house on the lake and the jet and all the things that I have. Let's look at the entrepreneur's dream. And here I am, just like a miserable guy. Like, wow, why are all these people looking up to me? I don't deserve to be looked up to. People don't know that 3 nights a week I'm drowning out my feelings with substances, but I couldn't go 3 or 4 or 5 days. I went 90 days twice in that period of time without consuming alcohol, and I couldn't wait to get back. Because during those 90 days, I was even more unhappy because I was forced to see those visions and forced to think about the things that just make me want to cry, to be honest with you. So I stopped drinking alcohol completely, and you're never going to see me drink another drop of it. And it's not because I want to demonize it. It's not because I don't think it's fun. It's freaking really fun. It's not because I don't want to bond socially with my friends. There's going to be parts about it that I really do miss. But I'm just telling you guys, like, I had to stop because the scariest part to me was seeing myself reincarnated in the image of my dad. And he was a troubled man. He once hit a cyclist on a bike when he was drunk and drove away and left the guy to die. And I started seeing these tendencies. Sorry, Trish. I started seeing these tendencies in myself. And I started thinking about the dad I want to be, the husband that I want to be. My emotional intelligence was killed with my relationship. And it was very, very clear to me that my DNA and my physiology and my psychology does not handle alcohol well. My lineage, my DNA does not handle alcohol well. I grew up around my dad, my uncle, all my uncles, his dad. I don't even know my mom's dad on her side. I've never even met him, or I don't even know his name. But my grandma on her side, alcoholics. I mean, they're all the people. My brother Jason, who's a multi-unit franchise partner with Burn Boot Camp, his father, he's my half brother. His father were best friends with my dad. My mom is our common denominator, and he died of liver cirrhosis far too early, in a horrible way, in a terrible way. And I watched this substance erode my family, and it started to erode mine. And so I said, Devin, what the hell are you doing? Not you, never again are you going to take another sip of that poison, because what it's doing to you is turning you into the exact person that you promised yourself you would never be. So thanks for handling that with me, because I needed to say that. It's very therapeutic to talk about it, and I thought it was a perfect opportunity to do that on this alcohol segment. And just to let you guys know that you're going to hear me talk about not drinking, and I'm going to promote that for myself and what it's doing for me. I am not here to give you advice. You're likely wanting to be metabolically healthy. You're likely wanting to be fit if you're here. And my recommendation doesn't come from my experiences. That will be the recommendation I give to myself. I'm not doing it anymore. And if you'd like to join me in that, that's going to be your own choice. But I will never look down on you for any reason, especially a reason if you don't have a problem with it and it helps you, maybe introverts, get out there and get more social. Just my advice is to align your expectations of yourself mentally, spiritually, emotionally, physically with the blueprint that you have for your life. Because the most powerful force in human nature is to align to the blueprint or the pathway that we set out for ourselves. And you will not be congruent, you will not be healthy, and you will not be happy if the decisions that you make while you're under the influence take you off that path.
Thank you, Devin.
Yeah.
I think that was really powerful. And for those who are listening, I think we can all, if you do have alcohol, I think the biggest thing that I took away from that is understanding your relationship with alcohol. Like, why are you consuming it? And, Devin, it obviously has impacted you and your past. And for me personally, there are times when I definitely overconsume, and it's definitely because I feel stress, and I'm trying to get better at understanding why do I want the glass of wine? I don't ever need it. And so having a better relationship, now I challenge myself when I want it, I don't have it, right? Because that's usually because I'm trying to, what Devin said, on a different scale for me, it's I'm trying to overcome a feeling of stress or emotions, whatever is going on inside of me, and I need to deal with that. If you just drink the alcohol to push it away, which I am so guilty of doing, you're never going to actually grow from whatever you need to overcome in those emotions. So I think the bottom line is when we talk about our relationship with alcohol, it's understanding why you're consuming it and having the awareness. And it all goes back to having the awareness of why you're consuming it. And so if it's for, fun, for recreation, I challenge, and this is a challenge for myself too, don't consume it to hide emotions. I think that's where you can get yourself into trouble and to get yourself into bad habits.
Okay, so let's just talk. Let's roll this last clip by Dr. Mike, and you might have seen this guy around. I just learned of him maybe a couple days ago. He was on I believe, a Diary of the CEO podcast. I'm not sure exactly which this one is from, but yeah, I thought he had some good things to say. So I have actually didn't watch this clip yet. I did not watch this one. Let's watch it now, though.
Just to review, is drink as much as you can and you'll recover. See you next time. Just kidding. You're still with us, right? Thank God. Alcohol is a poison. You guys know that.
Okay.
It actively poisons you. And at high concentration poisons you a lot, and that fucks up your recovery at a basic biochemical level. Bad. Number 2, alcohol directly and via hormonal pathways interferes with muscle growth and repair. Bad. Number 3 is it disrupts a bunch of other hormones that are good for recovery. Bad. Number 4 is alcohol dehydrates you, which is a big no-no for recovery. Bad. Number 5, even if alcohol helps you get to sleep, especially if you drink quite a bit, 3 or 4 drinks or more, you can notably and predictably disrupt the sleep quality of the sleep that follows. Bad.
Okay, pretty straightforward. Bad. I'd like to hear some good. I think there is maybe some good things about it too. I know people who it gives you courage sometimes if you don't have any. Now, it's a very slippery slope. You could very much become dependent on it. But, I'm not going to sit here and say bad. All those things are true. I mean, he's not giving you advice. He's telling you the truth, right? Is it bad for you? I don't know. That's up for you to decide. I can't tell you that it's bad. I can tell you it's true. Now, if it's bad or not is your own personal truth. Universal truths are what he's saying, and they are bad as a universal truth. But, like I said, I'm not going to be the one to tell you to do something. That's got to be your decision, because you've got to want whatever you want more than whatever it is I want for you. Because what I do know is you don't motivate people or inspire people by telling them how stupid and bad and terrible they are. That's not a very good way to motivate people. And I don't think he's doing that here either, just to be clear. I just think he was trying to make a quippy little video and get your attention. Trisha, we're going to move on to the very last one. We're going to get you guys out of here, okay? It's control caloric intake is the last of the 5 small wins, all right? And we're going to talk about calorie awareness. We're going to talk about understanding your food. We've already discussed quality calories in, calories out, and the glycemic index, and how to easily judge what a quality calorie is based on the insulin response on that glycemic index chart. That's the base simple way. There's more to it than that. We'll go there later. But now we want to worry about total daily energy expenditure, or TDEE. Can you guys pull up TDEE for me? Go to TDEE, just in Google, and then just type calculator. Yep, perfect. And then just click on it, bring that calculator right up here. Okay, TDEE calculator, total daily energy expenditure. The best way to do this probably nowadays is ChatGPT anyway. There's some calculators you can, but all you're basically doing is saying, hey, here's my height, here's my weight, here's my biological statistics. I'm a male, I'm a female, I weigh this much, I have this much body fat. Here's my moderate to, severe to, like hyperactivity to moderate to low activity. And here's the amount of calories that you're burning on a daily basis, total daily energy expenditure. This includes your basal metabolic rate, or the calories that you're burning at rest, resting metabolic rate. And then your base calories, so your basal metabolic rate. So you see this calculator here. You guys can go use this. Let's take the link to your calculator.net here. Let's put that in the show notes for the folks at home. And I want you to first know what your total daily energy expenditure is, And then I want you to aim to eat about 250 to 500 calories, less than that per day. Depends on where you're at. That's just general kind of range. If you do 500 calories a day in a deficit, generally speaking, without any hormonal considerations, you're likely going to lose about a pound, because there's 3,500 calories roughly in a pound, generally speaking. And if you do 500 times 7, that's 3,500, right? The reality is you can't lose mass unless you do have a calorie deficit. You can't, but the opposite is not true, that you cannot gain mass without a caloric surplus. You totally can. Can you maximize it? No. That's a bulking and cutting cycle. That's how you're gonna maximize. But when you show up every day, and you have a quality intake of protein, high protein, quality intake, moderate to high fat, and low to moderate carbohydrate, you're going to be setting up your body to use both energy systems, glycolysis as a primary energy system, or converting sugars into fuel, and once you do convert those sugars into fuel, and it's stored in your muscles and your liver and your as glycogen, and then you deplete those sources and you still need energy, there's a secondary system called lipolysis, which breaks down the triglyceride, which is the fat molecule, into two parts. The backbone of the molecule, which is glycerol, and the FAAs, or the fatty acids, there's 3 of them, triglyceride, and the glycerol breaks down into glucose. And then glucose then gets shipped to the muscle, and the process starts all over. And so your fat, technically, once you get into that secondary energy system, can provide sugar, can provide your body with your muscle, your liver with glycogen. Okay, so controlling. I'm just trying to give you a couple cents there on the hormonal influence of food, because it's not all about calorie intake. Okay, but it's calorie awareness. It's total daily energy expenditure. It's 250 to 500 calories less than what you expend, and everybody expends a different amount of calories, so I cannot give you some generic advice here, okay? Now, the last thing that I'll say on this, because we've already talked a lot about it, is the following. That when you do control your caloric intake, what I notice practically in humans is when I sit down with members for focus meetings, they'll say, hey, I did really good for the past 3 days. Okay? Which I'm proud of you. Good job. High five. Let's go. We're building confidence. We've never strung this together for 3 days before. Okay? Great. But day 5, what'd you do on day 5? Because we can't look at it by a day by day by day by day basis. You have to you can even look at it as like a weekly basis is the easiest, because I just gave you the formula. 3,500 calories is roughly a pound. So you can have a deficit daily of 250 to 500. But the reality is nobody has the same deficit every day, if we're practically speaking. Some people have a surplus some days. Sometimes you have a deep deficit. I want you to try to have a small deficit every day. That's going to be metabolic health. Okay, and then we're going to upregulate into metabolic flexibility in episode 500. So May 26th, mark your calendars. And what's going to end up happening here is you will condition your body. You're going to condition your body by controlling your quality calories in, calories out, right? To be just below that total daily energy expenditure. And then we highly recommend that you have dinner at whatever time that you have dinner. Do not eat after dinner. Do not snack. Midnight snacks are literally driving cancer, driving inflammation, because we never give our body a break from insulin. We create insulin resistance. And then we suppress leptin, and leptin can never tell you that you're full, so you're constantly hungry. And then you never get to lipolysis or burning fat for fuel, because you're constantly in glycolysis. You never get to that secondary energy system. And you stack calories from food on your body as fat, and you literally have pounds on pounds of energy reserve. But we never stop the cycle of eating. So controlling the caloric intake doesn't necessarily always just mean the total daily energy expenditure. Remember, because it's calories and hormones. It's the behavior of allowing your body to breathe, letting your body reset overnight. If you can not eat from like 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. the next day, that's a 12-hour intermittent fast, and you're sleeping most of the time. That's the best thing you can do to control the hormonal effects of food, and also calorically the thermo effects of food. So that's basically it for calorie intake. And this, again, is an experiment. The last thing that I'll say is I'll finish my thought on the day over day versus week over week. You have to look at it as a week-long issue, okay, generally speaking, a week long. Don't just do good for 3 days, get proud of yourself, and then create some momentum, and then go out and eat a 3,000 calorie surplus. Not usually people aren't trying to. They don't even know it. They go out to dinner on Friday night, bottle of wine, bread basket with like oil, like, you know, whatever nasty kind of mixture of oil is like that, like Bonefish Grill or whatever. And then you go eat the coconut shrimp and you think it's shrimp, so it's healthy, but it's really not. And now all of a sudden I'm at 3,000 calories before I even got to my entree, which is 2,000 calories. And that one meal could really derail you for the whole week. So this is what we talk about in consistency, not deprivation, consistency. And if you are able to give yourself that intermittent fasting window, not only will you drive lipolysis and use your body fat for fuel, because glycolysis, glycogen stores start depleting at 4 to 6 hours. You're going to start to get some lipolysis, but really at 12 hours is maximized. You push to 14 hours, you're going to really start creating effects of autophagy. We'll talk about that later. Stem cell regeneration, we'll talk about that later. Mitophagy, we'll talk about that later. In 2016, there was a doctor who won the Nobel Peace Prize, I have to look at his name, Dr. Yoshinori Osumi, a cell biologist from Japan, who won the Nobel Peace Prize for autophagy and the effects of autophagy and mitophagy, which is the body breaking down folded damaged proteins that are prerequisite to cancer, breaking them down and using them as energy to fuel positive metabolic processes. So that's the 5 small wins. Mm-hmm. Anything to add on calories before we get these guys and gals back on their day?
I think since this is 101, and if you are this concept of, tracking calories is new to you, I highly, highly, highly recommend. It is somewhat annoying at first. Track your food intake, because you might think but let me tell you, those portions are very sneaky with how many calories you're actually intaking, and that can help set you up for success. You won't have to do it forever. You'll just get a baseline of understanding how many calories you're consuming on a regular basis to set you up for success down the road. So that would be my one tip. Just don't be scared to track your food.
Okay. I'm going to give one tip on that too, because we used to say, download the Lose It app, download MyFitnessPal. There's way easier ways to do that now. Chelsea, what I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to send you a picture, and I want you to put this picture into ChatGPT, okay? And I want what ChatGPT now is doing, and this is something we're really looking at for our new app. We have a section of our app that's going to come out in the next. I'm not going to say how long, because my CEO and my wife and Trisha might kill me if I overpromise and underdeliver. But in the future, we're going to have a deep level of burn trainer kind of AI stuff that's built in. And right now, if you actually just load up an image, if you load up an image into ChatGPT, what you're going to, and if you ask it to say, hey, give me the macros and the calories of this food, go. Now, and then press upload on ChatGPT, it's going to be very, very close. So you can see this meal here if you guys want to pull up what it's saying right now real time. This is what I'm doing every day pretty much, because I like to track my food because it's so easy now. It used to be you'd have to input it, select your food, select your ounces, select your quantity. Now ChatGPT is just recognizing the food with AI, and it's basically saying, all right, this is about this many eggs, about this much salmon. What else do I have on there? Steak. So I got scrambled eggs. There was 4 on there, by the way, so it says 4 to 5. It was exactly 3 ounces of salmon. It was exactly 3 ounces of steak. So I didn't prompt you guys on this. And what it's doing is breaking down my calories and my macros, right? Macros are proteins, carbs, and fats. Those are macronutrients. Those 3 those three macronutrients create a calorie. And then you have micronutrients, which is your vitamins and your minerals and your heavy metals and the metals and things like that. So then you can see the total estimated is 650 to 780. So I'm pretty good. 60. I got 70 grams of protein. I'm low carb, high fat for this meal because it was one of my days in which I was I had a low carb day because I had conditioning that day. And so I wanted to get to that fat burning stage, that lipolysis, that second layer of energy system. So that way during my metabolic conditioning workout, I was able to use my fat as fuel and more effectively train. So this is just what I do right here. I'm just giving you a recommendation of what I'm doing with my life. And then I'll do this all day long. And then I actually have what's called a project on ChatGPT. And that's Devin's Nutrition Accountability. And you can actually teach the GPT how you want to eat, what your goals are, what food you like, what food you don't like. You can ask it to come up with some really good meals that I'll like. So you could actually build an AI. Maybe we should do a whole podcast on that. We should do like a whole podcast. Write that down. We'll do a whole theme on how to track your food as a busy human being and how to like dial that in. Because the downside of tracking, the upsides far outweigh the downsides. The upside is nutritional education, which ultimately helps you be accountable because you know. Right? And then convenience. Like it's pretty quick. I just sent that to Chelsea. She did it and it was less than 30 seconds. So I think we're done for today. What do you think?
Yep. No, I think so.
I think it's a good place to stop.
Yeah.
Okay. We're going to stop right there, everybody. Hey, remember we have a new YouTube channel for the podcast. The Burn Bootcamp podcast is now its own YouTube channel. You can watch us on video there. I prefer that you subscribe there. Leave us a comment on this video. If you prefer to leave a review on Apple, that's great too. And you can also watch on Spotify if you're a Spotifyer. This has been really great. Don't forget, May 26th, we have an Ask Devin Anything where I go deep into the 2 energy systems, metabolic flexibility, metabolic health, lipolysis, glycolysis, how it works, and how you can apply it to your life if you want to go next level. It's next level stuff. Today's been Basic Nutrition 101. We kind of dialed in the 5 small wins and what we recommend. Share this with somebody. Whether you know this stuff already and there were some nuggets, you got some positive reinforcement, that's great. But share this with somebody who isn't a Burn member, right? Because all this stuff just applies. And like I said, we're going to turn up our concentration and our education and just really just offer a helping hand with nutrition because so many of you out there are absolute beast mode and you are ready for the next level. I'm personally ready for the next level. Trisha's ready for the next level. Trisha, thank you for being here today, being vulnerable, sharing your story, and helping others create their own journey by following you. I think it's a beautiful thing and really important. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your story, Devin.
You got it. 2 claps on 2. 1, 2.